Welcome to the AIAS, the Australasian Institute of Ayurvedic Studies, Ayurveda Update. My name is Richard Clark. I'm the principal at the AIAS, and here I'll be guiding you through a set of slides that I hope will detail and clarify what it is to study Ayurveda, what commitments it requires of a student, what sort of things you learn, how the course is delivered, and what the eventual outcomes are when you're qualified as an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant or an Ayurvedic practitioner. So let's get started. First, we have to look at the basic question: what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is a science. It's a science of life. The word Ayuhu, meaning life, from the Sanskrit language, and Veda from Sanskrit, knowledge of or science of. So it literally means the science of life. When the two words are placed together, it's pronounced Ayurveda. Now, it is a science, but it's got a living philosophy. And this is important when considering studying Ayurveda. It's not all just about bookish knowledge. Definitely, as a student of Ayurveda, you'll need to be diligent, apply yourself to your studies, but it has to be lived. Ayurveda will only reveal its secrets, its depth, its beauty, its breadth, once a student is prepared to integrate it into their own life and practice it sincerely and wholeheartedly. And that way you'll develop a very definite personal conviction about the strength of Ayurveda. And when you finish your studies and you're out there in the workplace, those who come to you as clients will see that in you. They'll recognize the conviction. You won't have to prove anything to them. So it's an important consideration. Ayurveda is a living philosophy. It needs to be applied to one's life in order for it to work. Now, in Australia, in order to become qualified in Ayurveda, there are two nationally endorsed training packages. They're known as HLT 52615, Diploma in Ayurvedic Lifestyle Consultation. This is a nationally recognized diploma, government recognized, that's delivered over a period of 18 months. There's also an advanced course, HLT 62615, the Advanced Diploma in Ayurveda. These codes mightn't seem all too important in the beginning, but they are important. HLT means that in Australia, these training packages are part of what's called health training packages. The codes here are important. They're detailed by the Australian Qualifications Framework, which is a national policy that addresses all of the government recognised qualifications in Australia, from certificate level right up through to bachelor's degree and PhD. These courses can only be taught, these qualifications can only be taught through RTOs, recognised training organisations or registered training organisations, RTOs. So do be aware that while you can study Ayurveda online and through various schools and various individuals, they won't necessarily give you any recognition in the way of a qualification at the end of the day. So you do need to be choosy about where you end up studying, who you study with, and make sure they're a recognised training organisation and they're teaching the nationally endorsed packages, HLT 52615 or HLT 62615. Now, when you're studying, you might ask, why? Who am I going to study with? Why the AIAS? First up, AIAS is a registered training organisation. That's the specific training provider number nationally, and we're providing training toward careers in Ayurveda through the nationally recognised qualifications. So what you get when you study at AIAS is a qualification recognised across Australia. And with both qualifications, you can go out and set up your own practice. Moreover, you're studying here material designed by Dr. Ajit. Dr. Ajit comes from India. He's been teaching in Australia and New Zealand for over 20 years, and he's the senior Ayurvedic clinician, the most experienced Vaidya in this part of the world. So you're getting a course that's been very well thought out, and it's been applied now over several decades. It's a course that will give you the requisite theoretical and the practical training to become confident and be able to set up your own business in Ayurveda. Now, Dr. Ajit is not just a qualified Vaidya from India. He's a teacher, he's a clinician, and he's a teacher of Western students. He's very much been involved in fine-tuning and developing the standards required in Ayurvedic training in Australia and New Zealand for a long, long time. And he's refined his delivery to best meet the needs of students in this part of the world. He's also teaching Ayurveda as that living philosophy. He'll be watching you, keeping an eye on you day to day, week to week throughout your studies, and observing just to what degree you take this on in your own life. It's very important. He'll be teaching you the authentic processes, not just the learning, but the assessment skills, where you're assessing clients by way of Ayurvedic pulse and tongue diagnosis and case history taking. He'll be teaching you the traditional therapies, the herbs, the nutrition, the emotional programs for healing, the bodywork therapies that you'll need to set up your own business and be able to assist people with their various health problems. The way that the courses are taught at AIAS is a multi-format delivery. Multi-format means they're not loose-ended correspondence courses, nor are they requiring you to be in class face-to-face every day. This is because when we've surveyed our students over many, many years, we recognize that people who come to Ayurveda have made a distinct decision, a very conscious decision about taking on Ayurveda. And by the time they do that, they're often mature students who have jobs and often family to consider as well. So we've designed a course that's authentic. It's actually a full-time delivery. It's 18 hours a week that you'll need to find in your life to meet the needs of this course, 18 hours a week, but it's flexible. It's flexible because on a weekly basis, you'll be doing a lot of your theory, very important underpinning theory learning online. And that's comprised of one lecture every week in real time with Dr. Ajit. It's on a Tuesday night in the first year of studies, and it runs for about 2 hours. And in that lecture, you have the ability to put forward questions. It's interactive. And unlike a lot of the looser-ended correspondence and distance learning courses from years ago, this course is integrated. It's systematic in that you've got work to complete on a weekly basis. The theory and the practical work is completely integrated. And wherever you live, whether it's Hobart, Tasmania, Melbourne, Adelaide, Byron Bay, Cairns, Fremantle, or Alice Springs, you'll have a weekly connection with your mentor, Dr. Ajit. But if we required people to be online at a pre-designated time every day, it would cut out a lot of people from studies. We have nurses who do shift work, yoga teachers who teach night classes. We've got mums with young children. So what we've designed is a course that's somewhat flexible. Outside of the real-time lecture on a weekly basis, you've got 16 hours a week that you can design around your life, work life, family life, as long as you can find that 16 hours. And if you can, you'll be fine. It means you can log in any day, any time to access your learning material. Additionally, it's important to understand that Ayurveda can't in total be taught online. So there are very important and essential components of the course, they're mandatory components, where you come to classes and do intensive face-to-face learning. And for this, there are weekend intensives through the year, not every weekend, not every month, but specific focused intensives that run on certain weekends, and there's practicums through the course. Now, the practicums, there'll be one in first year, one in second year. They're 7 days long, and you're in class every day, all day from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Day in, day out, you'll be learning practical skills, you'll be being assessed, and it's very important because in focusing your learning toward these career skills, you need to be assessed on your practical skills. You need to understand that you cannot learn Ayurveda totally online. But we've done a very good job in continuous development over many years, fine-tuning this delivery so that people who work full-time, people with families, can access the learning. Generally speaking, the demographic, when we look at the students who come to the course, they're mostly women, and they're mostly between 35 and 55 years of age. There are some people in their early 20s, there are some in their late 60s who come to study Ayurveda. So it means that we've looked to create a program that's accessible to these kinds of students. Now, when you're looking at these nationally endorsed qualifications, it's important to understand that in Australia, generally speaking, outside of secondary school, there are two areas that you can access government-recognised qualifications. One area of learning or getting qualified in is higher education. Higher education is the education sector that pertains to accessing bachelor degree level study, master's degree, and up to PhD. Then there's another area of learning, a sector of education called VET, or Vocational Education and Training. This sector provides all of the government-recognised certificates, diplomas, and advanced diplomas. And in Australia, this is where Ayurveda fits. Ayurveda is part of the VET sector, not higher education. Therefore, there's no bachelor degree available currently in Australia in the subject of Ayurveda, but it's part of VET. And there's a lot of strengths here with VET. But just to clarify, a VET qualification, let's just say Diploma Ayurveda, HLT 52615. These qualifications are comprised of what are called competencies. Now, a competency essentially refers to knowledge and skills that you'll be learning, assessed upon, and in a way you have to then be able to deliver that particular, those knowledge and skills to a particular standard required for working in that area. And you need to be able to do that repeatedly so that you've got a skill in hand that you can reproduce, you can do it to a consistent and appropriate level at the end of the day in the workplace. Because VET learning, VET, is very much focused on workplace skills, putting people into the workplace with credible job skills. So in the Ayurveda prospectus that you have read, we would have sent you if you're an inquirer into the Ayurvedic course, you'll note there are what are called specialization units of competency. This, in simple language, refers to the areas of learning, the knowledge and skills related to traditional, authentic Ayurveda. Traditional, authentic Ayurveda. And these are the particular competencies involved. They've all got their own code, they've all got a title, and they've got essential content. And then there's what's called, to get your qualification, there are also what are known as common unit competencies. Now, common unit competencies don't have anything to do with traditional Ayurveda. But because the VET qualifications, VET qualifications, are based on job skills, embedded in these qualifications are common units, nothing to do with Ayurveda, but they're what are going to furnish you with the skills to apply your Ayurveda in a workplace. For example, when you exit the course, you'll need to know how to market and undertake small business planning, how to manage a small business. A lot of people inquire to me and they'll comment that they're very interested in Ayurveda, but what's going to happen at the end of the day when they complete their studies? Will they have the skills to operate a business? And will they have the knowledge as to about complying with things like workplace health and safety, how to manage the control of infection? These are essential skills and knowledge and compliance issues related to running your own business. You'll additionally learn Western anatomy and physiology in the competency known as HLT AAP 002, confirmed physical status. So just acknowledge here that your qualification also involves all of these collectively, these common unit competencies. They, together with specialization units of competency in the previous slide, will comprise your qualification. Now, with respect to the delivery program, as I mentioned before, the diploma level of Ayurveda is delivered over a period of 18 months. And this is where we recommend you to begin with your studies with the diploma level. It's 18 months of study. The advanced diploma is 3 years. And look, at the end of the day, if you're passionate about Ayurveda, you really want to pursue a career, we would recommend that you keep in your sights the advanced diploma. The question is how to get there. In the diploma, you've got an 18-month program, and after that period, you can be out there in the workplace operating your own business as an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant. And you'll be trained in the course how to assess clients, how to design strategies to turn people's health around, and that will involve use of herbs, use of nutrition, emotional healing programs, Ayurvedic meditation, Ayurvedic therapies such as Abhyanga massage therapy, Shirodhara therapy, what's known as Katibasti therapy, which is a brilliant therapy for treating musculoskeletal trauma and various issues and pathologies. And the way you'll enter your study in first year is through these weekly live webinars with your mentor, Dr. Ajit, the Ayurvedic doctor. There'll be one, just repeating myself, one lecture every week on a Tuesday evening with Dr. Ajit, but there's also an additional 16 hours a week of work to complete at home through your online learning. That component is where you can log in anytime. You can design, again, that 16 hours around your work week and your family life. There are 3 weekend intensives at our Brisbane campus, so do keep in mind there's a need to travel. If you're interstate, you don't live in Queensland or Brisbane, you'll need to consider additional travel costs to come to these intensives. The intensives run 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a Saturday and a Sunday, and we always advise our students to be sure they arrive in Brisbane on a Friday afternoon or evening. So on Saturday morning, they're fresh, they're awake, they haven't caught the red eye from Perth and fall asleep at lunchtime. So you do need to do a little bit of planning with regard the weekend intensives. So the 3 of those in first year. In the second year of studies, you've still got your weekly live webinars. You've got 2 such weekend intensives. And here's your practicum, a 7-day practicum training at the Brisbane campus. That's 7 days of intensive learning in the way of Ayurvedic therapies. These can never be achieved online. So this is a mandatory part of the course. You need to pencil out your calendar for that week that it's on, and make sure you're in class for the practicum. There's an additional 7-day practicum second year as well. And the dates of these I can send you in a document, but I like to have a bit of a talk to people on the phone before I do that, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is attract people who've got a clear understanding of what it means to enter this course, and that they've got the suitable commitment to take it on, because there are sometimes people who love the idea of Ayurveda, but they might be biting off a bit too much at first. You do need to consider 18 hours a week is required for you to maintain your study progression. We've got some frequently asked questions coming up. These are questions that I hope will answer many of the questions that the average inquirer has, but there might be additional ones, and you can always call me and contact me to get a bit more clarification if there's something I've left out here. But let's see how we go. Why is it important to learn Ayurvedic philosophy? Why not just learn about treatments? Well, Ayurveda is not a treatment per se. Ayurveda has underpinning knowledge required in order for you to perform a treatment effectively. Ayurveda is a holistic discipline. It caters to the needs of body, mind, emotion, spirit. And that's the strength of Ayurveda. It's the whole reason people study Ayurveda. It's not a compartmentalized approach to health. It's got a very extensive definition of what is health. That's a question we all have to ask ourselves. It's the case that Ayurveda goes even further than the World Health Organization's definition, and their definition is quite good. It extends beyond an individual state of physical mental health and encompasses social health as well. So the understanding here is that in order to apply Ayurveda, don't think of it as an isolated system of therapy. There's an underpinning knowledge. You have to understand who is your client, what is their body type, what is the season in which you're approaching them, what is the strength of their digestion, what's known as their Agni, what sort of toxins might be present in their system, in which tissues are those toxins present, what is the strength of that individual. So there's many considerations that are undertaken here before you actually arrive at the decision of what treatment and how to provide a treatment comes up. So it's not just a case of learning a treatment. A treatment isn't Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a total approach to health, a total approach to life, and a very holistic paradigm that's presented to the client. What's unique about Ayurveda? There are many facets to Ayurveda which provide uniqueness, but essentially it's the knowledge of what are known as the three doshas. Many of you will have come across these terms. I'll just go over them for people who are a little bit newer. The knowledge of the doshas Vata, Pitta, Kapha. These are the bioenergies that regulate our biophysiology. Everyone has these three doshas. Three doshas come about by way of your parentage, the state of health, the state of the doshas of your parents at the very time of conception, the diet and the health of the mother during gestation. These will determine the body type of an individual. That's known as the Prakriti, and this is where Ayurvedic strength comes from. So as opposed to having a client come in with a disease state that's handled the same essentially in every single client, Ayurveda addresses everyone individually. Someone coming in with a cold or flu or a stomach ulcer or a case of depression has to be understood better, more individually by way of the three doshas. Again, everyone has three doshas, but their balance, their flux, their dominance, their state will vary individual to individual. And Ayurvedic therapists are trained to understand this, to assess the doshas, so they can provide a more accurate, a more specific treatment for the individual client. Who can teach Ayurveda in its authentic form? It's important to understand that although outside of India there are many sincere and deep thinking enthusiasts with regards to Ayurveda, we need at the moment teachers who themselves have the traditional qualification from India. That's the BAMS, or Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery, or Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Science, which is a 5.5 to 6 year degree. It's these individuals who are in a place to share the depth of Ayurveda. Moreover, if we go to the next slide, that teacher should have significant clinical experience. So it's not enough to learn from someone who's just exited a course. You'd imagine going to university that the associate professors and professors themselves have years of industry knowledge or skills in their particular field. They've got perhaps peer-reviewed research under their belt. And likewise in Ayurveda, we need teachers who've got the traditional in-depth Government of India recognized qualification. Additionally, they need to have clinical skills under their belt. Dr. Ajit has nearly 40 years of clinical practice. He's the significant clinician, again, in Australasia, and he has a wealth of knowledge to share. Moreover, in Australia, teachers of Ayurveda need to be trained in the qualification for training and assessment in order to deliver the VET or VET qualification. So there's quite a bit behind what makes a good Ayurvedic teacher. It's the case that at AIAS, Dr. Ajit or Professor Dr. Ajit is our significant resource, and it's the significant reason people come to study at AIAS to access the coursework that he's developed for the Western practitioners and consultants of Ayurveda. I'm going to meeting. Now, some people might ask, why study for 18 months when I can learn Ayurvedic massage in 6 weeks? Well, again, we're teaching the nationally endorsed qualification. And this involves study of all sorts of competencies outside of Ayurveda too. Western anatomy, physiology, how to manage and run a business, how to comply with workplace health and safety, etc., as I mentioned earlier. In addition, Ayurveda isn't a subject you can fast track. Even if you contracted all of the knowledge and tried to create some intensive method of learning in 6 weeks, you have to remember it's not going to end up good. The student of Ayurveda needs to apply Ayurveda in their own life. There's a certain period of maturation that's required. And as Dr. Ajit's experience at AIAS, you cannot reduce the learning required for an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant at the diploma level in less than 18 months. It doesn't allow, one, a student to mature effectively over that period of time, and two, there's just too much to do. So we found that a lot of courses that might offer the learning in lesser time, they have to be removing something. There's just not the depth of learning available if you're studying in 6 or 12 months, let alone 6 weeks. Ayurveda is not a massage practice. Ayurveda is deep knowledge of life. Massage is one of its tools. Marma point massage is a tool. Shirodhara is a tool. Herbal medicine is a tool of Ayurveda. But it's not just a technique. You can't adequately practice those therapies unless you have the underpinning knowledge. You want to learn how to understand the workings of the body and the mind according to Ayurveda. You've got to learn how imbalances occur. You've got to learn how to assess those imbalances. You need to learn how to take case studies. That won't happen in 6 weeks or 6 months, not even a year. You'll need that full 18 months to address the in-depth learning required for a lifestyle consultant. So a master's course in 6 weeks might be fun if you go to India, but it's not where we're at. We're teaching career skills, much more in-depth. And the question might come up, some people might ask, what if I'm only interested in studying Ayurveda to my own benefit, my own health, not so much to become a practitioner? Well, look, there are lots of courses available online and in Australia and other parts of the world that deliver what you need if you're going to focus more on your own health. It's one of the strengths of our graduates. They're trained to educate the public, to teach the public how to apply Ayurveda to their own life and derive enormous benefit. But what we're teaching here are the nationally endorsed qualifications. There's a lot of work to undertake. There's assessment. If you want to come into the course and you're regarding it more for your own learning, your personal passion, you could certainly do that. But you'll be assessed at every point like every other student. In order to progress through the course through your competencies, you can't let your assessments go. You can't avoid performing various assessments and assignments and turning up at class, or you'll end up being cancelled from the studies. This is a progressive, graduated learning course. You have to keep up with it, maintain study progression, or you won't make your way through the increasing level of depth in the course. But if you wish to take it on for your own benefit, you're welcome. But again, it's a significant commitment, time-wise and financially. You might want to consider that. And you know something, what we found is that for some of these students who come in with this particular focus for their own learning, they're very passionate about Ayurveda. At the end of the day, most of them will admit that having learned Ayurveda, they feel there's an onus on themselves to share it, to pay it forward in a way and help other individuals. It's part of the learning of Ayurveda at this level. It's going to bring out in you a want to share your knowledge with others. So keep that in mind. Now, I work full-time. Is this course possible to complete while working full-time? As I run through a little bit earlier, as long as you can manage 18 hours a week in your life, you can do this course working full-time. Our students have to work because the government doesn't fund or assist with any fee help. There's no vet fee or vet student loan, as it's called, available for the course. Vet student loan is a bit like HECS assistance at university for those courses. There's no such government assistance for Ayurveda. So our students, by and large, have to work full-time. Some might be fortunate, work part-time, but the course we've designed here is allowing full-time workers to come in. But you need that 18 hours a week. You need to consider through the year those requirements for the 3 weekend intensives and the 7-day practicum. But if you're prepared to sacrifice some social life and you can find that 18 hours, it's perfectly achievable if you're a full-time worker. That's how we've designed the course. So here's some questions about the delivery. What is flexible delivery? How does it compare to full-time study? Again, I repeat myself, this is full-time study. 18 hours a week in Australia is considered a full-time learning format. The flexibility comes by way of the theory here we deliver online. Just imagine, you're going to university, you're sitting in front of a lecturer, they're using PowerPoints, they're lecturing, you're taking notes, you might have a textbook in front of you. Well, we can achieve that online. And this allows our, especially our mature age students, our adult learners, to access Ayurveda, true, authentic Ayurveda, from wherever they are in Australia, whether they're in Wodonga, Ipswich. We've had students from mining communities in WA. But again, you have to factor in that travel component. Flexible learning doesn't mean you can get shabby or tardy with your commitment. 18 hours a week, 2 hours, a real-time lecture, the 16 hours, that's the flexible part. Flexible delivery means you access this through certain real-time webinar lectures. You've got recorded online and online learning materials that you can access in that 16 hours a week from wherever you live, and there's certain face-to-face components. So you're not required to come to class every day or every week. It's very flexible, but there is a serious commitment. At the end of the day, you're taking on a health science. At the end of the day, you're representing Ayurveda, and you're taking care of people's physical, mental, emotional health. So there is an onus on you to meet the requirements of the course and be serious about it. Again, the benefits here. Benefits simply are that you're not restricted to accessing Ayurveda based on where you live or your work-family life. You do need a bit of time available, but the benefits are you can manage this while you've got other responsibilities. Can I just study perhaps online? Can I study Ayurveda online only just for distance learning without face-to-face components? No, it won't work. Certainly not if you're looking for the endorsed qualifications. There is written into the course the need for 200 hours of supervised case study work. 200 hours. It's part of your assessment. And some of the subjects, you see people here in class, various students, learning things like, what have we got here? Ayurvedic cooking. You can watch people cook a recipe on the internet, but you won't pick up Ayurvedic cooking by reading books and watching people on the internet. It won't happen. You need to be assessed in class that you can produce that skill to a repeatable standard. That means you can do it over and over again with consistency to the standard required with accuracy. Ayurvedic pulse diagnosis. You'll never learn this online learning activity. This reflects a therapy known as Kati Basti. This you won't learn online. So there's a lot of online learning for the theoretical components, but for these essential practical skills, you need to come to class. And that's where Ayurveda at the AIAS is very strong. Our courses are very much focused in traditional, true, authentic Ayurveda. True means that we don't add any filler subjects to bulk up our courses. This is real, holistic Ayurveda taught by a doctor who has a holistic vision. Authentic means that this is the very subject matter that comes out of the traditional Ayurvedic syllabus at universities in India. In India, the Central Council of Indian Medicine is the statutory body that determines the course content at university. And our material is taken from the CCIM syllabus. It's completely authentic. And of course, it meets the needs of training and qualification in Australia in the vet system. Some people have considered going to India to study Ayurveda. Well, just keep in mind that if you have the ability, sure, that is the home of Ayurveda, India. That's where the BAMS degree is taught. And if you're somehow fortunate, if you can fund yourself living in India for 6 years, it could work. You may need proficiency in other languages besides English. You'll need prerequisites. If you're thinking of going to India to study the BAMS degree, which is the only government recognised qualification in India, you'll need the same matriculation, the same matriculation from high school and the same subjects you need to get into a medical degree. You'll need your physics, chemistry, biology, and you'll need to have scores that would permit you entrance into a medical degree. Because in India, to get into the Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine surgery degree, you'll need the same matriculation from high school that you need to get into medicine. So there's a lot of prerequisites to consider. We've had students here, one very keen student who studied with us for a while, and he loved Ayurveda so much, he decided to go to India to study. He had family connections. They knew a professor in India. And the professor said he would find a way to help that individual get into a university, but he'd have to, based on the fact that he hadn't got the matriculation at high school to enter medicine, this fellow had to go back and study the subjects again, which he did, but he didn't like them, and he dropped out. He never went to India. He came back to AIAS, and since that time, he has actually managed to complete his advanced diploma in Ayurveda. So keep in mind, when you go to India, the subjects there may not be wholly required for practice in Australia. In the BAMS degree, there is minor surgery, and that will be illegal in Australia. No one's practicing it unless you're a surgeon. The underpinning sciences related to that area of learning also add time and coursework to the study. There's obstetrics and gynecology. Unless you're a midwife or an obstetrician, you're not going to be delivering babies in Australia. There's public health administration in the course in India. There's toxicology, a lot of areas that aren't required for practice in Australia, nor are they legal, nor are they necessary. And at the end of the day, you might head off to India, you might come back with hair about as long as this particular sadhu rowing his boat down the Ganga. So just consider what's going to be the most effective course of study for you. We're teaching the Australian qualification. I'd recommend that people who intend working in Australia with Ayurveda get the Australian qualification so you can practice. And if you then want to go to India to do further study, there's your ticket. You'll get a lot further proceeding in that manner. Now, some people might come in expressing an interest more in the Department of Nutrition. They're not that interested in therapeutic massage or herbs or meditation. Remember, Ayurveda is not one therapy. Ayurveda is approach to life, and when you're studying Ayurveda, it's very broad. You'll be learning how to integrate and the necessity of nutrition. But nutrition, no matter what they say, you're not going to cure a range of advanced diseases simply with nutrition. Ayurveda caters to the mind. You're going to have to look into people's mental, emotional health. And we have programs in that area: Ayurvedic psychology, Ayurvedic spirituality, emotional healing programs, Ayurvedic meditation. You'll need to understand plant medicine. Plants are very potent, and it's part of the learning in Ayurveda traditionally and in the modern courses here. You need treatments to turn around people's health. You need to be assessed in these treatments. So you might, at the end of the day, focus perhaps your practice on nutrition. It might be your personal desire, your strength, but you also have to understand the place of these other areas of therapy. And if you're not going to do them, you'll need to be able to refer your clients to someone who provides Abhyanga. Abhyanga, or therapeutic massage, is way more than the concept of massage in the Western sense. Therapeutic massage in Ayurveda most often involves the use of medicines, herbal medicines, concocted, say, into an oil base that are used on top of the body topically as a therapy. So Ayurveda is very deep. You can't narrow it down to it being simply an approach to nutrition or simply a form of massage. So to get the qualification in Australia, you'll need to learn and be assessed on all of the areas of Ayurveda involved, but it's certainly up to you at the end of the day where you might focus your practice. Again, we've got this question coming up. I'd like to pursue a bachelor degree in Australia. I've mentioned this earlier. In Australia, Ayurveda is not part of the higher learning or higher education sector. There is no bachelor degree presently in Australia that's able to be studied. The bachelor degree in Ayurveda is in India. In Australia, we have diploma and advanced diploma. Don't think of these as somehow subordinate or lesser qualifications in terms of content. I can assure you the content of our advanced diploma is very deep, very broad. No one has ever questioned or complained about the content of our Ayurveda advanced diploma. We've had GPs come into our diploma level and they've been thoroughly and extremely impressed, even with the demands and content of the course at diploma level. But there's no bachelor degree currently in Australia. So put that out of your mind for the moment. Don't think of the bit of paper being more important. Try and avoid getting into some kind of status hierarchy where you think that studying a degree will put you in a better place. It's the content, it's the teacher, it's the degree to which you access the traditional authentic knowledge that's important. I've met people from some other countries where there are actually so-called bachelor degrees in Ayurveda available. But what they are is a Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine Science. And when I've talked to a lot of these graduates, what they've learned is a science degree, fair enough, with some Ayurveda thrown in. But the content of Ayurveda in that course, I can assure you, because I've talked to them, it wouldn't even match what we teach in our advanced diploma. The Ayurvedic content wouldn't come close to what Dr. teaches in our advanced diploma. So consider when you're studying, best teacher, the best course, the best content. Don't think that a bit of paper will pave your way to a better experience or job opportunity at the moment. Now, a lot of inquirers have heard of the famous Ayurvedic Panchakarma therapy. It's a little unfortunate that it's highly and widely misunderstood. We should pay due respect to Panchakarma. It's an advanced level of treatment for many advanced disease processes, but it requires specialized knowledge and skills way, way above diploma and advanced diploma. I would not believe any Western practitioner, not one, who offers what's called Panchakarma treatment. We should think of it in the way that someone doing the MBBS, medical degree, in this part of the world, if they're wanting to become an orthopedic specialist or an oncologist, trauma surgeon, they need advanced specialized training. This is what's required in Panchakarma. So unfortunately, people think that they might have gone into a Panchakarma center and maybe received some treatments, different types of Ayurvedic therapeutic massage and Shirodhara therapy. These are not Panchakarma therapies. You will receive them at some point in an Ayurvedic treatment center. But the massage, the Shirodhara therapy, Karibasti, etc., these are part of the diploma. We do advanced treatments too in the advanced diploma, but in and of themselves, that's not Panchakarma therapy. So if you think, when you're asking the question, will we learn Panchakarma, if you're talking about some of these therapies I mentioned, yes, you'll learn them, but technically, that's not Panchakarma. This is specialized knowledge. And if people misuse this, not only can they hurt their client, Panchakarma can be a source of distress and further ongoing disease process if it's mismanaged. What's more, if people purport to be offering Panchakarma, it can damage the name of Ayurveda. If they're offering areas of Panchakarma that they're not thoroughly trained and assessed in, by going off to India and getting some sort of short, fast-track course, this is going to damage Ayurveda. So let that be something for the experts, the specialized therapies of Panchakarma. It's not part of the, and shouldn't be part of the vet training packages in Australia. Now, some inquirers will have a background perhaps in massage therapy, naturopathy. They might have gone to India and done a 6-week Ayurveda course. They might have done a more full course or part thereof in another country, US or Russia or somewhere. And they ask, can I get RPL? RPL means recognition of prior learning. This is the case we'd apply to someone who comes into the course. They might have workplace experience. They might have worked in an Ayurvedic clinic. They might have done some study in another country or in India, but they haven't got the competency. They haven't got specific competencies required for vet training in Australia. So such individuals can apply for what's called recognition of prior learning. Just keep in mind, though, that for this, this is a process involving mapping. We would have to have our assessor, our trained assessor, speak with you, and then they will go through an extensive process known as mapping, where they'd assess your current knowledge and skills in relation to the performance criteria of each competency in the Ayurveda qualification. This is called mapping. It has a cost to it, and it's a very extensive process, but it's certainly possible if you do have some background in Ayurveda, naturopathy, or remedial massage. You can apply, you can ring us and have a talk about how I apply for recognition of prior learning. Now, there'll be people who come into the course who are currently studying something else. They might be actual situations I've come across, people completing their master's degree, people are in the middle of a yoga teacher training course that might not finish until, say, next August. Will it be too much to study both courses at the same time? Answer is yes. Unless you're independently wealthy, you have enormous time at your disposal, it may be possible to do both, but you could be studying 40, 50, 60 hours a week, depending on the load. I know most yoga teacher training courses will require at least 20, 30 hours a week for 1 or 2 years. And master's degrees, research, people doing PhDs have a lot on their plate. I'd recommend you finish what's on your plate currently before taking this on. It's a very demanding course. Just because it's flexible doesn't mean it's not demanding. Again, at the end of the day, you'll want to feel, if you study Ayurveda, certainly with AIAS, you jump through the hoops, you've walked through fire, and you've earned your qualification. You want to feel confident that you've not just got a bit of paper that says I'm an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant, I've got the diploma HLT 52615. You want to feel you've achieved that by putting in the due work. And it will challenge of you, it will require a lot of your time and energy, and it's a bit much for most people to take on 2 courses at once. Here's one. I don't know my Ayurvedic body type. Is it necessary to have a consultation with a Dr. Ajit or another Ayurvedic doctor to find out what my body type is, my Vata, Pitta, Kapha proportions that I arrived on earth with at birth? You don't need to know that to study the course. It can be part of your learning, your personal discovery. Everyone will be involved in ascertaining their own prakriti or body type as part of their course learning. If you have that under your belt, you've had a consultation and you're clear about that, that's fine. But it's not a negative. You're not coming into the course deficient in anything if you haven't got that knowledge. But if you want to, Dr. Ajit is available for personal consultations. He can do online consultations, and you can ascertain that. There are other Ayurvedic doctors and practitioners who are quite capable of helping you in that area. But it's not necessary to come into the course knowing your body type. That's good. What sort of textbooks do we use? I found a lot of people who've done university courses are a little bit cautious. They've told me they spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on textbooks in each semester. In our course, there's no expensive textbooks. In fact, we supply you with copious course module notes, copious notes as part of your learning. So they will furnish you with a lot of the material you need. If you wish to get other books, you certainly can. We have them available. They're not mandatory. But, as you go through the course as a student, it's likely that you'll want to acquire a few books, build a personal library, and we make books available. And just as an idea, most of those books, they're between about $24 and $60. We do have compendiums, we have sets of traditional texts, which are a bit more than that, but they're no way necessary for students while they're studying. They're more for the geeky type of student who wants to develop an extensive historical reference library, maybe when they're graduated, they've completed their studies, and you might buy a set of the Charaka Samhita, and that will cost you a few $100 for the voluminous amount of material there, but it's not required in the course. So we make recommendations for books, but there are no expensive textbooks that you need to acquire along the way. With respect to the system of yoga, how does Ayurveda and yoga, how do they relate to each other? Do we learn Ayurveda and yoga together in the course? Is yoga part of the training? And do we offer yoga therapy as part of Ayurveda? Look, people understand these days that yoga and Ayurveda are shared sciences, so to speak, sometimes called sister sciences, in that they draw from Sankhya philosophy significantly. Sankhya is a school of philosophy in India, and it's where Ayurveda and yoga lean to on a philosophical level. But because they both share that material, it doesn't mean that in becoming an Ayurveda consultant, you're instantly a yoga therapist, a yoga teacher. Just understand that yoga is its own system. If you want to become a yoga teacher, you look to study that in its own right. And beyond that, you look to perhaps study yoga as a therapy as well. Many of our graduates do also move in that direction. If you've got a particular interest in yoga, many people do, that's significantly an area that will marry in well with Ayurveda. But there's so much Ayurvedic work in our course. We don't fill our course with yoga retreats, dance classes, yoga stretching sessions during the course. Our course is full of Ayurveda content. So just accept that yoga and Ayurveda are very much intertwined and interrelated. You'll find that if you have a background in yoga or you are a yoga teacher, you'll see immediately a lot of that philosophy from yoga applied in a very practical way in the Ayurveda course, and perhaps ways you've never considered. So certainly learning Ayurveda for yoga teachers will deepen and enhance their knowledge and skills. Are the Ayurvedic qualifications eligible for the VET student loan system? I've mentioned this earlier. No. Students who come to Ayurveda have to self-fund their studies. There's no government assistance available to any Ayurveda course in Australia. So you need to consider the courses are paid for by the student. They're self-funded, but you don't have to pay them in full up front. There are installment methods available, so you can spread your costs out, but you won't get help from government. What can we do about that? I suggest perhaps write to local members, voice your concerns, argue that Ayurveda is legitimate, it's a government recognized course, therefore why can't we access VET student loan like many other areas of learning? But that's something we'll have to look at in the future. Currently, on a political level, there's been decisions made that have made the study of Ayurveda much harder for people who would need financial assistance. Here's a question. I really want to focus on Ayurveda, but it seems like there's a lot of study devoted to the other subjects, the external subjects, that is the common units. Look, here is a list of your common unit competencies in the diploma level. And here's a list of your specialization units of competency, the traditional Ayurveda. So looking at them, proportionately, you might say there's a lot of time devoted to these. You can't study Ayurveda in Australia and avoid these competencies. These are part of your qualification. But let's just get this clear. Many of these competencies don't take too long to complete. Some of them are just one day. Here's, if I can find it quickly, HLT AID 003, I provide first aid. It's a one-day program. You can do it anywhere in Australia, in fact. It's a one-day program. Some of the other competencies might take 2 or 3 weeks. Some might take 4 weeks but to complete. So there's a lot of them, but they're not so extensive as the Ayurvedic competencies. These competencies can take 6 months to a year to complete. There's less of them, but they're much more in depth, and they take a lot longer period of time to actually finish them off, to complete them. So yes, there's a lot of the common units. They're essential, but they are not the prime focus. Our strength is Ayurveda. These are the units that will take up the time, most of the time in the course. Now, what if I don't have the internet? Would this affect my study? Absolutely. Because we designed the course so that students across Australia can access the learning, the theoretical learning, you absolutely need a good internet connection. So keep that in mind. Can I just use my iPad? Well, not so much. I don't think it's practical. You certainly could use an iPad if you're on holidays and you didn't want to miss your real-time lectures. You can access your learning material, certainly the videos, whether they're live streamed or recorded. You could use an iPad, I imagine, but you'll in learning and completing assignment work, you'll need to have various screens open at the same time, various files open, and you'd need a laptop or a desktop computer to work on for your day-to-day weekly learning. I'm not good at computers. Will this affect how I can study? Well, look, you'll need basic computer skills. You don't need advanced skills. If you found your way onto this webinar, if you've been able to log into an email and read the PDF documents, the files I've sent you with the prospectus and timetable and course costs, you've already got some computer skills. If you can work with Microsoft Word, you can present your assignments in that fashion. And you'll be fine. But you do need basic skills. If you have more advanced skills, totally fine. If you can work with Excel and PowerPoint, you can use them. But basic skills are required. And if you have them, you'll be fine in the course. Will I need to purchase equipment while studying? Expensive textbooks. I mentioned this earlier. There's no stipulation that you have to purchase lots of expensive textbooks. Massage tables. Yes, at some point, in order to perform some of your treatments, you'll have to do unsupervised case studies from home and write up reports on them. You will need a basic massage table. These days, you can get a good little massage table, a collapsible lightweight table for around $200. They're not that expensive. And there'll be some Ayurvedic clinical equipment, not too expensive. Bowls for your massage oils, thermometers to test the temperature of these oils when you're heating them up for application. There's a bit more equipment in the advanced diploma of Ayurveda. There's the possibility that you might at some point need special sorts of equipment. They're not absolutely required for the course. Many of our students come to the school and use our equipment here to do their case studies on. We have all the traditional equipment available for students. You can come to school, but there's no real need for any expensive equipment as a student while you're studying. But there are perhaps some other costs. A great number of our students, possibly 7, sometimes 8 out of 10 students, coming to AIAS courses from interstate. Again, they'll want to come here for the nationally accredited qualification. Moreover, they're coming to access Dr. Ajit's learning material, to have him as their mentor, as their assessor. So just keep in mind that on top of the course costs, there may be travel costs if you're coming from interstate, that's flights and accommodation. These days, most of our students are using Airbnb. It's a lot more cost effective. And you might have some other costs like meals away from home, taxis or trains between airport and our centre. Our building here in Brisbane, at Sunnybank in Brisbane, has a train station at the back of the building. So it's convenient in that you don't have to stay in the immediate area. You can get a train at the back of the building or a bus to the front of the building. You can drive here. We have parking. You get out from the train at the back, come around to the front of the building. Some of our Gold Coast students, Sunshine Coast students, or students from areas around Brisbane might come here by train. Others will have to fly in, and there might be some additional travel costs you need to consider. Here's one, you'd be surprised how many people come into this course expressing this idea that they should have done this years ago. Maybe they've left it too late. Look, here's some of our students in class. You'll note that there's a great spread of ages in the course. We've had students, like I said, from the age of early 20s, very occasionally a high school leaver, but mostly more people 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and occasionally even in the early 70s. And if you're reasonably healthy, you want a productive life, you don't see yourself sitting around twiddling your thumbs beyond retirement, if you want to serve the community, if you want to deepen your own knowledge and understanding of life through Ayurveda, there's no age limit. So don't think that being 50 or 60 means you've left it too late. You have skills too in the way of life experience that many younger people won't yet have, oftentimes, and you'll be able to share them and better understand the position of many clients that come to you. So being a mature age learner, even into your 60s, won't prevent you from becoming a good Ayurveda consultant or practitioner. If you have certain health issues, this might be something to think of. Keeping in mind that a lot of people actually come to Ayurveda because they experience health problems. It's Ayurveda that's given them hope. It's Ayurveda that's relieved a lot of their distress, and therefore they want to learn it. So certainly people come to the course who have problems health-wise. But if you're severely incapacitated through chronic fatigue and severe arthritic problems, severe autoimmune problems, for example, this might limit your ability to maintain study progression. We'll help you as best we can, but there are areas where you need to move in relation to performing Ayurvedic treatments, and you need to develop that competency to get your qualifications. So if you have more severe health problems, it might be a somewhat limiting factor. Ayurveda will help many students overcome, or at the very least improve, the health status that they're currently suffering. But you'll need to access your learning work, and if you've got chronic fatigue, not relieved by rest, and if you're bedridden a lot of the time, you might want to spend some time working more on Ayurveda therapies through a practitioner so you can move your health ahead to the point that you can take the study on and become more successful with it. So that's just another consideration. We help our students as best we can, but sometimes people have a lot to contend with, and it might be that you need to spend some time bettering your health through Ayurveda before you become a student. Do we have term breaks at the end of semester? Yes, essentially, and they'll pretty much run alongside the breaks that schools and universities have. But of course, in Australia, various states have their own timings for term breaks. I do have a document I can send you if you request it with our dates, because for people who work, you'll need to maybe request leave at work for your intensives and practicums. And if you have family, you might need to consider when the breaks are, when you've got children at home. So I do have a document with our dates and times, which I send to everybody who calls me and requests that information. And we have a long summer break over the summer, like most schools and universities, and some end of semester breaks too. I'm not an English speaker by birth. Will I have problems understanding the material and the lectures? Well, this might relate to, obviously, people who are newer in Australia and aren't confident perhaps with their language. You do need an IELTS score of 5.5. This is the International English Language Testing Score. If you're not sure about this, and if you're not sure about your proficiency with language, with LLN or language literacy and numeracy, you can always ring us and talk to us. You can go to ielts.com.au and you can do a basic test online. But if you've got essential literacy skills and skills in English having come through the Australian schooling system, you should be fine with this. You don't need high-level technical language or ability, but you do need basic comprehension. Again, we help you the best we can as part of our job as an RTO, but you might want to check if you're unsure of your English language skills. Go to ielts.com.au. You can do a test there, and you can also ring and have a talk to us to better understand the needs in that area. What sort of support do we offer at AIAS? Well, here's our team. Here's some of the team. More of the team and some of our students down here. We're here on a day-to-day basis to help you with either sometimes students have trouble logging in, they've lost passwords and things. Sometimes in order to better understand the need or the requirements of an assignment, we have trainers on board who you can call or email to better understand what's required of you. Of course, we've got that weekly webinar live with Dr. Ajit. You have the ability in that webinar to put forward questions. You're encouraged to ask questions so that you can clarify each step. You don't need to feel then that you're struggling with a concept or even a term. In that Dr. Ajit real-time lecture, you're encouraged to question the doctor, seek clarification. But we have a team here who are available depending on your needs by phone or by email to better understand some of the requirements of assignments or your learning material. Do we need to know or study Sanskrit in order to learn Ayurveda? Not at all. Just keep in mind that Sanskrit provides the technical language for Ayurveda. Vata, Pitta and Kapha are Sanskrit terms. They come from the Sanskrit language. That doesn't mean you have to understand Sanskrit or read Devanagari script. You don't have to do that at all. Every area of learning has its own specialized language, its own system of classification or nomenclature, and for that, many systems of learning lean on terms from other languages. Apium graveolens, the botanical name of celery, and if you're studying botany or herbal medicine, you'll need to know your Apium graveolens, let alone you'll have to learn so many plant names and their Latin binomial references. Equipment used in the lab, terms used in science become everyday terms for people schooled in that discipline. Celatosica is an anatomical term. It refers to an area of the skull, and it's not an English word, but if you're learning anatomy, you'll come across these words. If you're learning Chinese medicine, the Jinglo or the meridian system is paramount. Everyone will study the Jinglo system or meridian system. And if you're into computer science, you learn about random access memory. So every system has its terminology, but in Ayurvedic, we rely on Sanskrit. What have I put here? Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the language. It provides technical terms for Ayurveda, words like Agni, Ama, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, the term dosha. Those words you'll be learning, and you'll learn such words related to the study of any discipline. So don't be scared of that. They'll become second nature. They're all a bit foreign to begin with, but you'll absorb them without even trying so much because you'll hear them so often, these particular Sanskrit terms. So don't be worried about not being proficient in Sanskrit. I'm an international student. Can I get a student visa? Now, in Australia, we have the Qualifications format course that is a format, a registering body for courses that are delivered to international students so that they can get a student visa. Now, the AIAS is able to, it's licensed to provide Qualifications courses, but the intake for next March, the Diploma HLT 52615, is not a Qualifications format, so we're not offering it to international students. It's for domestic students or perhaps with students who came here as foreign students but have since become permanent residents, for example, they could access the course. This is not a Cricos course. We cannot provide you a visa. It's not the design for the international student, the format for the 2020 intake. The practicums are 7 days long. How do they work? Will Dr. Ajit be there teaching? What are we going to learn? Is the attendance at the practicums compulsory? They're 7 days long. I mentioned earlier, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. We have intensive learning format, day in, day out, picking up, acquiring practical skills. Dr. Ajit is there for in-person for 3 days of each 7-day practicum. He'll be lecturing and teaching you the principles for applying various therapies. He'll be there for assessment. The remainder of the time, he's actually there through video streaming for the remainder of that practicum. He's watching you. He's asking you questions. You're asking him questions. For a part of that conference, he'll be back at his clinic in New Zealand doing his own practice. But he's there for 3 days. We've got other assessors on board, qualified Ayurvedic practitioners who are there following on from Dr. Ajit's instructions, supervising and assisting the class. You'll be doing a lot of work in applying the therapies on each other. And when you go home from that practicum, you'll feel quite fluent, quite able and confident to then provide those therapies on others. So once you leave the practicum where you are learning and being assessed on skills to a certain proficiency, you're then sent home to do case studies. And you'll be performing those very therapies on friends or family or clients and writing up reports that you send in for assessment. So these are very important. They're critical components of the course, and they are compulsory, and you do need to be there. And to miss them, it would be a lot of learning to catch up on. It'd be very difficult to catch up on that learning if you were to miss it. So you need to be there. You need to commit to it. And these are the essential core skills for the practical components. What sort of assessments are expected of us? Are the assignments many in number and complex? Look, there are assessments all the way through this. The vet training sector, its emphasis is on creating skilled people for the workplace, and underpinning those skills which you'll need to learn and then be assessed on, so as to prove that you can do them again with a certain continuity and to a certain standard. There is also underpinning knowledge. So you'll be assessed on a very regular basis, and some of those assessments will be simple. They'll be short answer, even occasionally multiple choice. More often you'll have assignments of a little bit more extensive nature, but they're all fair. No one has to worry. You're not writing a master's thesis. They're assignment work that is necessary and sufficient, and with respect to the nature of the learning. You're doing vet learning, so you're not writing theses, and at the end of the day, again, you want to feel that you're tested. You want to feel that you've done the work and you've earned your qualification. So yes, there are assessments, but they're all very fair. No one complains about them. And what they'll be doing is assisting you on developing both the knowledge and the skills to that particular measure required for the study. Some people comment that they've heard that for some reason they can't prescribe herbs as Ayurvedic lifestyle consultants. So let me assure you, using herbs is essential for an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant. It's written into the course, knowledge and skills, and you'll be learning both what we call the kitchen pharmacy. These are things that are accessible. People use them every day, medicinal foods, and you'll be learning some of the essential herbs from the Ayurvedic Materia Medica. The famous ashwagandha, shatavari, etc., will be part of your learning. So this is a photo here of the particular herbs in the formula, the formula Triphala. And you'll be learning how to use Triphala, Trikatu, and other formulations as Ayurvedic consultants. You definitely will learn them. Of course, if you eventually head into the advanced diploma, the range of herbs, the depth to which you learn them, the particular traditional formulas and the advanced practices of herbal medicine are learned in the advanced diploma. But that doesn't mean you won't be learning a suitable range of very practical herbs in the diploma level. As Ayurvedic lifestyle consultants, you'll be expected to know how to use these essential herbs. Some people want to end up teaching Ayurveda. I think we should perhaps not get too far ahead of ourselves. We should develop the essential skills. And then if we ever want to teach one day, we should have a bit of clinical experience behind it. So the first step in this is looking to become qualified as a consultant or practitioner. Don't have teaching on your mind. You need to live this. You need to learn it. You need to be able to apply and not just become an academic. In Ayurveda, it doesn't count that much. You need practical experience behind you, providing Ayurveda to clients before you think of becoming a teacher. But if what you mean is, when you finish the Ayurveda course, will you be in a place to do workshops and trainings for the public? Absolutely. A lot of our graduates are very successful in designing workshops and retreats for the public. It's where they get to establish a connection, a rapport with clients, and teach them essential living skills. So that part is certainly an area for both lifestyle consultants and Ayurvedic practitioners. With respect to becoming pregnant during studies, or for those who are planning a family, many do. You know, obviously most of the student cohort are women, and there's some women who are planning a family. Just keep in mind that while some women have come through this course either pregnant or become pregnant partway through, it can put a stress on you if you're in a position where you haven't got a lot of resources, be they family resources or financial resources. Because again, if you're living way outside of Brisbane and you need to travel and you've got a newborn infant and you haven't got a lot of family support, it can make study more difficult. There are women, of course, who come through the course, but they're usually people who've got resources financially and family support or close friends who can assist when caring for infants and young children. And of course, some of the health issues that might come up regarding morning sickness can make study pretty difficult when you're not feeling yourself. So just keep that in mind if you're certainly wanting to plan a family in the very near future. What sort of things can I do employment-wise? What skills will I have as an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant? You'll be very busy. The skills you have involve understanding how to take a case study with your client, determining the doses that are out of balance, even beyond that, what are known as the sub-doshes, a deeper level of understanding of the doshes. You're able to determine what doshes and sub-doshes are imbalanced, the health status of the dhatus or tissues, what are involved in the disease process. You're understanding how illness has begun to manifest, and then how to create a treatment strategy. To do that, you'll be doing case studies. You train in Ayurveda pulse and tongue diagnosis. You're trained in how to create a strategy to bring about a return to health through therapies. You're trained in therapies like Ayurvedic massage, Shirodhara, Kadibhasti, again Ayurvedic meditation and emotional healing programs. You're trained in Ayurvedic counseling. You're trained in nutrition and herbs. So you're in a very good place to deliver holistic therapies to a client in a way that many other therapies and modalities can't do, because they're focused on just musculoskeletal problems, whether by physiotherapy or massage, and they don't have the skills to address diet. And dietitians are skilled in diet, but they don't know about herbs and body work and emotional healing. And psychologists might well have the mental, emotional side in their domain, but they're not in a position to always offer diet and herbal therapies, let alone body work, which are critical to the return to health. So as an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant, you have access to all of these areas. It'll make you a more holistic and capable practitioner. here's one of our consultants in their own business. When you exit the diploma level course, you can certainly acquire your professional indemnity public liability insurance to operate your own business. You can start your own business, whether from home or leasing an external premises. You can also work in existing health centres, in holistic health centres where they might have acupuncturists and naturopaths and massage therapists and physios, psychologists or chiropractor. But there's a big demand in Australia for Ayurveda, and there's a shortage of supply. So there's many centres currently looking to fill rooms with Ayurveda experts. So there's a whole range of employment prospects for the graduate of both the diploma and advanced diploma course. When I finish my studies, will I be able to access products easily for my clinic? Yes. Increasingly, there are many good suppliers of Ayurvedic herbs, Ayurvedic equipment, therapeutic products, external therapeutic oils, internal products, herbal medicines, and these are becoming more widely available in Australia. And you can very comfortably set up a clinic with traditional equipment and a dispensary of all of your healing substances, herbs, various medicines and additional oils. When it comes to payment, can you pay in regular installments? Yes, that's the way most people are entering the course. They're not all able to pay up front. You don't have to do that. We offer installment plans, and I can send those plans to you once you've given me a call, talk to me on the phone, or send you an appropriate installment option so you can split up your installments over time. You do not have to pay for the course upfront. There's the number you could reach me on to have a chat on the phone, which is really important. If you're thinking about studying Ayurveda, you do need to speak to me. So again, you become very clear about what you're committing to and how it all works. My job is really to get an intake together of students who are highly motivated. They're coming to the course with the right intention, wanting to learn Ayurveda, not just as a career, but as a helping profession, as a career that helps others, that gives people a sense of inner fulfillment. And we're very fortunate that our intakes end up being comprised of such people. They're not just in it for the money, not for the fame. We attract people to AIAS who really want that holistic Ayurveda, and they're wanting to benefit certainly their own position, their own health, but they're wanting to do that to share with others and help others overcome distress and suffering. So do give me a call on the phone if you're excited about the prospects. I'll give you even more information about how it all works. And I do have documents that detail your options with respect to costing and how you pay for the course. Now, how does this diploma level, HLT 52615, differ from the advanced diploma? I mentioned earlier that if you're set on a career in Ayurveda, we certainly recommend that you set your sights at some point on the advanced diploma. It's a 3-year program. But realistically, up front, most people we found in our surveys are better suited to taking on the diploma level, at least to begin with. Now, how do they differ? See here, we have for example, these are the specialization units of competency. That's your Ayurveda learning material in the diploma. That's it there. This takes, together with your common unit competencies, this takes an 18-month period to complete. Now, the advanced diploma has advanced learning. The advanced diploma has, in addition to this, the advanced diploma contains the same competencies, but all of these extras. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 competencies in the diploma, but an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the advanced diploma. That's why the advanced diploma takes 3 years to complete. But if you've already acquired your diploma level qualification in Ayurveda, that section with its required common units, the advanced diploma will no longer take 3 years. It will take 18 months longer. 18 months. So we recommend that you begin with your diploma, and then if you're passionate about going further, wanting to acquire additional skills, you can immediately continue into the advanced diploma, or you could wait a year or two and come back and you could get credits then for these units. And it will only take you another 18 months to complete the advanced course. Now, with respect to fees, look, this isn't a pleasant, perhaps, discussion when it comes to refunds, but in the interest of being transparent and very upfront and clear, do choose a payment installment plan that's going to suit you. Certainly, if you enroll in the course and you, for some reason, have to renege and you have to pull out 4 weeks prior to course commencement, you'll definitely get a full refund, everything. Depending then on how long you're in the course, the refund amount will vary. Once the course is established and well into it, you will not get a refund. So do look ahead and be sure that you're able to commit to the course. We do have a refund policy. You will receive the refund policy, and it will clearly outline the terms of the refund at different stages if you were to withdraw from your study. What if I was to begin my study and for some reason I had to pull out temporarily, I had to withdraw from studies? Can I defer? Our policy is that there are no deferments from the course. If you think about it, if someone pulls out from their studies, it'll often mean that they've struggled for some weeks or months and they've maybe not been involved in their study or learning. So if you were to defer, the question is, where do you come back to? It's very unclear. However, in vet training, if you've maintained your progress with your study and you've submitted the required assignments and you've been assessed, you will receive what's called a competency. Now, for example, in the first 6 months of the course, if you're on top of your study week to week, you should have achieved by about 6 months the first Ayurvedic competency. So if you were to pull out of your studies, what you are awarded with is a competency by way of what's called a statement of attainment. This is an official term, statement of attainment, and nationally it's not a qualification. The statement of attainment will confirm a particular competency that you have achieved. So if you were in the course, say, for 6 months and you have achieved, you've done the assessment and you've achieved what's called HLT AYV 001, Develop Ayurvedic Practice, you're awarded a statement of attainment. Then if you're intending coming back into the course, as most people who say they're deferring intend doing, if you come back into the course a year later, for example, you will get what's called a transfer of credit. You will, and you can do this with any school. You can come to us if you had been studying this with another institute, and if you got that particular competency, that exact code, you get what's called a transfer of credit, and you won't have to pay for that unit again, and you won't have to study it again. So that's called transfer of credit. And that's the clear and precise way of exiting a course, coming back into a course at a later point, and for the school then to be able to determine, yes, you've done that area study, you've been assessed, you're competent, and therefore you can come back and you won't have to study that area a second time. So here's a question. I'd like to transfer from another school to the AIAS to continue my Ayurveda education. Can I exchange schools? Can I come in partway through my current course? Will I receive a credit? Yes, you can change schools. And if you have that statement of attainment, you'll get a transfer of credit. If you haven't completed any competencies, we can't give you a credit. We'd have to perhaps look at recognition of prior learning. And as I mentioned earlier, you go through that mapping process. We'd have to map what knowledge and skills you've attained. We'd have to test you on this. You'd have to prove what you've got, but that is a process involving a cost. So you'd have to inquire to us regarding our recognition of prior learning policy. But if you have a statement of attainment from the other school, that's a very simple process. If you've got that exact course code, you can get a credit, a transfer of credit. How do I enroll? I'm really excited now. I want to commit to this course. I'm prepared to dedicate that 18 hours a week. I know I've got to do some travel. I'm prepared to sacrifice some of my social life, my party life. I really want to do this. How do I enroll? You can go to our website, go to the courses tab at the top of the page, go down to Ayurveda courses, then you go down the page to the diploma level, go to a tab for more information. There you can even download our prospectus, and there you can hit the Enroll Now tab. You can enroll online. It's an online enrollment process, and for this you're required to tick some boxes. You're not giving away all of your secrets. It's a standard process for all RTOs to collect this information. It's going to ask you things like, have you studied before? If so, to which level have you studied? Do you have any disabilities? Do you have Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander descent? Do you have any learning difficulties? It's going to ask you questions like this because the government takes these stats, this particular data, and it analyses them to ensure that their courses meet the needs of students coming into the courses. So you'll be required to do this, tick some boxes, upload a form of ID, a driver's license, passport or birth certificate. The process will take about 15 minutes. There you'll receive a copy of our student manual with all of our policies, ranging from our refund policy, deferment policy, sexual harassment, bullying policies, complaints and appeals policies. You'll receive an extensive student manual. And once you've done that, we'll receive your enrolment application. We'll then send you an invoice for $500. That's your enrolment fee. It's part of the overall course cost. It's not an additional fee. Once you pay that enrolment fee, then your confirmation will be given. You'll be confirmed as being enrolled in the program. Now, we take enrolments up to 31st of January 2020, but some people have already enrolled early in order to secure their place on the course. So it's an online process. But before you do it, it's always a good idea to contact me and receive a few more details and documents, timetables, policies, the payment plans for installments, and some of you might want to talk to me about our scholarship assistance program. If you're looking to talk about scholarship assistance, do not enroll online right now because you will be charged full fee. If you intend inquiring about our scholarship program, you need to ring me, you need to talk to me further, and I'll ascertain whether you're a suitable candidate from our point of view. It does not involve an assets test or anything like that. We need to hear of your specific commitment and your willingness to study this course with AIAS and dedicate yourself to it. Then we can make a determination. And if you intend applying for scholarship, don't enroll right now. Call me first. Here we come to, we're nearing the end now. What is the future of Ayurveda? Look, we're extremely fortunate. Ayurveda is what we call a growth industry around the world. It's growing itself in India, and certainly in countries ranging from Japan to Holland to Argentina to Austria, South Africa, and certainly Australia and New Zealand. It's a growth industry. We've got a situation where there's a lot more demand for Ayurveda currently than supply of practitioners. Many other health modalities have a saturated market, very much saturated, a lot of competition. We're very fortunate in Ayurveda to be a growth industry. We're on the crest of the wave. And entering at this point in time, you've got a very bright future ahead of you. This is a picture of some of our graduates and the Honourable Dr. Gondane, the High Commissioner of India, addressing our graduates and expressing his how impressed he was with the training these graduates received and what they're going to be doing in the community. So we're facing a very positive future if in this course you apply yourself, you do what's required of you, you commit to your study, you live your Ayurveda with sincerity as much as you can, as best as you can every day. By the time you graduate, you will be in a place of confidence and a place where you can share Ayurveda with others and meet that growing demand for well-trained Ayurvedic lifestyle consultants and practitioners. Again, we're recommending that long-term, you do consider the advanced diploma. If you want to talk to me on the phone a little bit more about why we're encouraging you just to concentrate on the diploma, it's more about being realistic. In 18 months, you can be out there practicing, you can be earning an income, and you can come back in and receive credits for the diploma competencies. It will only take you a further 18 months. It will also give you a good sense of just what level of commitment you want to apply to your Ayurveda. For some people, many yoga teachers, it might be well enough to finish with the diploma. For people who want to create retreat centers with an Ayurvedic focus and don't see themselves as clinical practitioners, the diploma might be well enough. You'll have a certain standard. But for a clinician, you want to seriously consider, at the end of the day, the advanced diploma. The question is how to get there. I've got some good ideas. Speak to me on the phone, and I'll better detail why we're recommending the diploma as the point of departure for Ayurvedic students. This is where you get on board, accomplish that first up, and then head further into your advanced studies. So thank you. Thank you for the time you dedicated. Thanks for your enthusiasm and your attention. I hope I've been able to detail something of what it is to study Ayurveda, the importance of these nationally recognized qualifications for those who want to practice in Ayurveda, and where it ends up at the end of the day. I hope to hear from you fairly soon. I'm working throughout the summer, so do call me on one of our numbers. Go to our website. You can make an inquiry from our website, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much. Bye now.